Kansas, KRPS 2, Pittsburgh, Texas.
This is KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga.
Esta es KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga.
Tune in every Friday night for the Queer Life radio show from 6 to 8 p.m. Every Friday, we talk about lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender communities doing news, perspectives, and roundtable discussion. Every Friday, the Queer Life on KBBF 89.1.
We served our country like those before us.
The camaraderie is what kept me going. You know, it was a dangerous area. All of Vietnam was dangerous.
I didn't know what to expect when I got back.
For the first 10 years after I got out, no one would have known that I was in the service.
I got home, got married 2 weeks later, got a job.
We came back, built lives, families, and communities, but we still had challenges.
The carnage of war left an indelible mark on me.
I would have intrusive thoughts, horrible nightmares.
Services and support that can help are available for veterans.
I went to the VA, talked to my doctor.
I started doing groups. I started doing one-on-one counseling.
We found ways to move past these challenges for ourselves and for our families. At MakeTheConnection.net, you can hear our stories and find tools and services available to you.
The more I talk to people, family, friends, other vets, the better I feel.
El sol brilla y el aire fluye con buena información a través de la frecuencia modulada de KBBF 89.1.
All right. Hello, everybody. You are listening to The Queer Life on KBBF 89.1, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussion, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer, and I am with my co-host, Mandy Howard.
As always, here. Man, this microphone is not very good.
Oh wait, no, it's going good now. I guess.
Oh, it's going good.
Okay, yeah. Always fun with the technical side of this, and we're probably the most technical show on the station here. The Queer Life Radio Show is streamed live via Google Hangout on Air. That's basically YouTube. go to thequeerlife.org, you can actually watch inside the studio. Yes, I said watch. We have a webcam inside here, so we're utilizing all different forms of technology. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Anyway, we have a very, very special show for this evening, and I know I say that we have a special show every evening, but I feel like I feel like every time that we can get an interview with somebody who's doing great work out there in the community, it's a special show. And I'm just profoundly moved and grateful that we're able to share that knowledge and we have a platform to share that knowledge. As a trans person, as a person of the LGBTQIA, yes,
and
that's LGBTQIA, that's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, allies, and nerd. Yeah. If you listen to previous episodes, which you can listen to on thequeerlife.org, we explain why we talk about that a little bit of silliness for you. So we have our guest this evening is Kevin Jones of the Human Rights Commission of Sonoma County. He has been doing work with the queer community. I got a very special little blurb right here. He's been a Sonoma County resident for about 5 years. Owns a Fast Signs franchise in Santa Rosa. Served as Deputy Director and Chief Development Officer for Out and Equal Workplace Advocates, a SF-based national 501c3 that is nonprofit working to ensure LGBTQI employees enjoy equal access or workplaces where they are free from discrimination and have equal access. Was a staff member there for almost 5 years, served in various volunteer capacities with the organization, including its board of directors. For 25 years prior, he worked in the financial services in New York City, served for a number of years on the HRC, National Business Council, and on the board of directors for Gender Pack and True Child. Gosh, this guy's been doing a lot. Let me keep going here. And True Child, organizations focused in Sonoma County. He serves on the County Commission on Human Rights, representing the 2nd District. He's the chair of the Sonoma County Stonewall Democrats, active member of St. John's Episcopal Church in Petaluma, and sings with Sonoma Valley Chorale, right? Yeah. And the Valley of the Moon Chamber Ensemble. Currently a member of the Leadership Petaluma class of 2015. He's married and he is here with us this evening. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on the Queer Life Radio Show.
Pleasure to be here. Look forward to talking to you. Great to meet you in person.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
As I was saying, great to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation and great to meet you, Kai, in person, and Mandy.
Fantastic. So I was referred to you via Ramon, via there's all these via other people things. So we've got this great network of people that are connecting us here, and I was told about this LGBTQI task force in Sonoma County, and that sounds pretty serious.
Well, let me talk a little bit about exactly what we're doing. In June, the Human Rights Commission for Sonoma County approved the task force, and basically what we're trying to do is get some information about what the LGBTQIA community is in Sonoma County, and I'll probably drop a few of those letters for brevity's sake in the course of the evening. But one of the things that a couple years ago, a gentleman by the name of Colin Close did a survey and was able to survey maybe 200 to 300 respondents to get a sense as to what's going on with the LGBTQI community in the county. Found out it was kind of disconnected. It's I think people feel pretty safe and pretty integrated on the surface, but we just don't have real good information. And so from the perspective of looking at what the state of human rights is for our community, we wanted to get out and make sure that we heard all of the voices and pulled that data in to be able to create a list of recommendations on a going forward basis of things that the Board of Supervisors, the county administration could be doing, people living in here could be doing to make sure that the county is the best place for members of the LGBTQI community.
Wow. So you're actually taking the first step, and that's listening.
That's what we're trying to do. One of the toughest things, I think, generally speaking, in my experience of talking about who we are as a community and how we're doing, is the lack of information. I spent a lot of time, as you mentioned in my introduction, working with corporations, and one of the things about corporations have been at the forefront of putting a lot of policies in place. The more progressive corporations, out front in terms of non-discrimination practices and healthcare benefits and all of that great stuff. And while policies are important to have, that doesn't always translate for everybody an experience that it feels fully inclusive. And one of the problems is that they tend not to measure the extent to which their LGBTQI employees are actually succeeding. Is the turnover different? And because they don't ask the question of people, either in anonymous surveys or in their HR records. Do you identify, what is your sexual orientation? What is your gender identity and expression? And so you can't track it. And the same problem with the census in many ways. There was a great study recently, the Portrait of Sonoma, that came out and talked about disparities in health and disparities in socioeconomic status within the county. But if you wanted to find out where the LGBTQI community was in that data, you couldn't, because it's not included. And so you're right, this is the first step in getting information from all of the voices in the county that we can possibly get to say, what is your experience? And what things should be different.
I'm gonna have to take a step back here. There's this. First up, before I make any assumptions, we want to out you. Are you? Do you identify as a cis, quote unquote, straight identified person?
I identify as a cis gay man.
Okay, as a cis gay man, and as a cis person, speaking to myself as a trans person, I appreciate that you're going out there and doing the work out here. And getting the data, because there's so many voices out there, as you know as a gay man as well, sure, that the one size fits all approach has not been working. And just because we've been given amnesty on certain issues here and there, it's like, oh well, when it comes to the gay marriage thing. People are like, oh, well, you have gay marriage. Well, why are you still complaining? So this is absolutely incredible. So how did you get something like this approved to move forward?
Well, the thing that I found in terms of the people here and the leadership within the county is that they're pretty progressive, and certainly the members of the Commission on Human Rights are very interested in, making sure that the broad spectrum of human rights are recognized and enforced. And so it basically is a matter of raising my hand and asking and saying, this is something that I think is important, and will you support that? And one of the things about Sonoma County that I find amazing, because we have, according to the census data that the Williams Institute did, Dr. Gary Gates, one of the second highest number of same-sex couples on a per capita basis than any county in the country, which says, okay, there's a lot of us here, and that's only counting some of us.
Yeah.
And there's, I think a lot of people feel that we're kind of integrated, or that everything's wonderful.
Yeah.
And, that's not necessarily the case. But, up until a couple of years ago, for example, the county didn't recognize or didn't have a proclamation for Pride Month for June. And you would think that would be like, well, it was an easy thing, but no one asked.
Wow.
Until I did. 2 years ago,
You're kidding.
No, and I just said, I approached my supervisor,
yeah,
Supervisor David Rabbit from Petaluma, and said, could we get a proclamation? And I did it pretty late in the game and said, it might not be till next year. And it was like, oh no, we'll get it done. And it happened. And I find that a lot, that people are very supportive, but it's because they're not part of the community. It's not always front of mind that there are issues. And so there needs to be somebody who's sort of continually saying, and remember to look at this from the perspective of the LGBTQI community.
Right.
Because it may be different for us.
Right.
Because, we're everywhere in all policies. So whether we're talking about homelessness or youth or seniors or, people with disabilities, you name the policy area, and there are members of our community there.
Mm-hmm.
And unless somebody is saying, are you making sure that what you do is inclusive of those people? Inclusive of our community, of us.
Yes.
And because it's not always at front of mind unless somebody's raising the question. And so what we're trying to do is to, find out, who is the community here, and how do we go about making sure that somebody's asking the question that, great policy, glad you're focused on health, but are you looking at it from a lens that includes the trans community?
Mm-hmm.
Are you, when you're looking at homeless youth, you're looking at, people who are part of us, either gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender, people from communities of color, any of those, parts of the rainbow that represent us need to have a voice. And it's, we find things in the county, there's some great social organizations in different parts of the county that tend a little bit to be kind of white and privileged and not necessarily accessible to people who are struggling or don't fit that profile. Well, we need to make sure that those people have a voice as well. And they're not just, if all you do is look at the privileged people and decide things are fine in the county, then you're missing the whole story, and you're not doing justice to the human rights conversation that we should be having. And that's where, we're trying to engage as many people as possible from as many different parts of the community to make sure that we're getting a sense of, what are their issues and what needs to be done from their perspective.
Wow. I mean, this is pretty incredible that you're looking towards, reaching out to, the disenfranchised, portions of the queer community, which, statistically, for the most part, is, poor people, people,
Sure.
Who don't have the opportunities. What's the statistic for, queer identified people who are homeless? It's like what is it, like 30%? Like,
well, especially I know the youth too. The homeless youth tend to be hugely disproportionately LGBTQI identified.
Yeah, and so you've got quite the challenge here to reach out to all these folks who are, in many ways down and out, and who may or may not want to even be part of a queer community.
Sure.
And that's the issue of creating a queer community or uniting the queer communities. Many of us don't want to be part of a queer community or never received any help.
Yeah.
There's many people that Mandy and I have talked to that have felt embittered by their experiences with these quote unquote organizations that were supposed to be there to help them.
Yeah.
So obviously this is a big first step, and it's very interesting that it's happening now, and it's totally great work that you're putting this together. But a lot of people in Sonoma County have just assumed, well, Sonoma County is such a progressive place that it's like it's safe here. Well, it's like, yeah, well, most people might be fun-loving hippies a little bit around here, but does that translate over to rights? Does that translate over to jobs? Does that translate over putting food on the table?
But yeah, does it? I mean, and you're exactly right. Does it translate to an experience for anybody, whatever the circumstances, who are LGBTQI and identify in that spectrum, and are looking to be included, or looking to access services and have those services be provided in a way that's sensitive to who they are.
Right. Oh my gosh, this. I feel like we're on the precipice of like a great change, and the thing that a lot of I find myself asking. I don't know about you, Mandy. It's like when I first came out as trans, as queer, I thought to myself, I don't want to be a part of any movement. I don't want to have to do anything or whatever. But it's like, what strikes me so much about this is that if we do not do this, who will do it for us? And it's, and it's certainly not being done by, cis quote unquote straight identified people.
Well, just listening to the conversation, I'm pretty new to Sonoma County. I've only been here maybe 3 years at the most. I mean, I guess that's not pretty new, but I've lived elsewhere most of my life, Southern California mostly. So just listening to your description of the demographics in the area, it's actually teaching me a lot about what it is and how the community in Sonoma perhaps views itself, and how you gotta kind of change that image and make it more than just the white privileged people. So yeah, it's really, really very interesting stuff. I'm more interested in finding out how you actually get your messages out to the community itself, the LGBT community, and how you collect your data.
Well,
I might be jumping ahead.
No, that's a good question.
And that's that's one of the challenges is sort of where we are in the process. So what we've been doing for this year is getting to the point where we're constructing sort of a couple different prongs, but constructing questionnaires that we can ask people to provide information to us either online through SurveyMonkey or through hard copy papers. And we're looking at we've been basically enlisting a number of different people and organizations to try and help either get the word out to their constituencies specifically, so that the way that the commission works, it's kind of interesting. So only commissioners can be members of the task force. So there are 3 of us besides the chairwoman, who's the ad hoc member of all of different ones, but interested and involved certainly. It's Ramon, who you mentioned. Ramon Meraz, I think, probably knows everybody in Sonoma County.
Yes,
which is a great resource. And Christopher Mihurin is the other commissioner. The 3 of us are on the task force, and we basically said, even with Ramon, knowing everybody, sort of getting the word out and getting the information is going to require a much bigger partnership. And so we've created an advisory committee to work with the task force, and have been soliciting people from as many different areas as possible, reaching out to people who work with organizations, youth organizations, people with disabilities organizations, different cultural communities, and hopefully to try and get as strong a cross section as possible, geographically, culturally, experience across the board. Napa County did something like this a couple years ago, and so Ian Stanley with the LGBTQ Connection, and who works with Voices here in Sonoma County as well, has been very helpful in kind of guiding us. I mentioned Colin Close, who had done a survey a couple years ago on his own, which was just a major effort that just inspired a lot of the conversation. Has been involved in helping us form the questions, as well as we've had, I would say, maybe about 30 people from different organizations, all kinds of different organizations, and individuals who are just interested attend our working group or advisory committee meetings to provide input. So some of those social organizations, for example, that I mentioned as well, people who are involved with seniors, members of the trans community, just basically anyone who's been. And so we're creating this instrument. Now, the fun thing about creating a survey and being a commission of the Sonoma County is it has to be vetted through some, the HR and legal council structures within the county. And so we're hoping to have that finished in early January. So then we can really get out through media, through meetings of, different kinds, through organizations. And we'll also be talking to organizations that are service providers throughout the county, asking them what things they do specifically to recognize that their constituents include LGBTQI people.
Now, are there questionnaires that have already gone out that you've already put out there? Or
No, we're
not
still,
yet?
we're waiting. They have to get the final blessing,
Mhm.
because we're an arm of the county, so we need to make sure
Okay.
that it's all.
So that means you probably
Wonderful.
can't give us an example of any of the questions yet.
Well, I can give you an example of some of the kinds of things we're looking for.
Mhm.
So, of course, we're looking for people to provide us the questionnaires that we're looking at are anonymous. So we're not asking for names, but we're asking for them to tell us a little bit about who they are so that we can associate their experiences with their demographics. So kind of where they live geographically, how they identify in terms of sexual orientation, in terms of gender identity, in terms of, ethnicity, cultural experience, socioeconomic status, living with a disability or not, faith, their faith experience. So those kinds of things, so we can identify whether there are issues with particular segments of the community, age, where they live, if they have a home, if they don't.
So you're trying to collect as many data points as you can.
Right. About the people that are responding to the survey, because that'll tell us something. And then we're asking about some information about how comfortable they feel in being visible, and with whom. So some of your basic questions about, are you out? Are comfortable sharing your identity with, with family, with friends, with people at school, with people at work, with public officials, with healthcare providers, those kinds of things. And then we have a number of human rights areas, public accommodation and, work, education, healthcare, those kinds of things. And basically saying, what has your experience been in Sonoma County? Have you experienced a level of disrespect or discrimination or harassment in any of those different areas? And so we're trying to get a sense of who they are, how visible they are in their identity, what their experience has been because of who they are and about which who they are. And then some questions about what kind of things would you like to see differently.
Right. Hey, we're going to have to take a little break here. We're going to hear some words from our sponsors. Play a little bit of music for you. If you are just tuning in right now, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussion, and interviews. This is on KBBF 89.1 FM. This show can be watched online at thequeerlife.org. You can watch the live video stream of inside the radio studio. And if you have any questions for us at any point during the show, feel free to give us a call, 707-545-0318. That number again, 707-545-0318. Or you can tweet us at The Queer Life. You're listening to The Queer Life Radio Show.
Las expresiones y comentarios no representan la ideología de KBBF ni la mesa directiva, sino que es la responsabilidad de sus actores.
Your symbol of heaven, the only girl that I love.
20.
Every night I hope and pray, a dream lover will come my way.
20.
One summer night.
20. 20.
It's just like heaven, being here with you.
20.
Step by me, Diana.
Hey man, Duke and Banner, celebrating 20 years in Sonoma County. Friday nights at 10 p.m. here on KBBF.
I love you, but you love me. Oh, Diana, can't you see?
Proteja sus ojos con gafas de seguridad al trabajar cortando metales, madera y otras materias que puedan dañarlos. Las gafas también protegen sus ojos al trabajar en sitios donde hay polvo o tierra. Si trabaja bajo el sol, proteja sus ojos usando gafas que bloquean los rayos ultravioletas del sol. Estos también reducen el riesgo de desarrollar carnosidad en los ojos. Mensaje del programa Calagravity de la Universidad de California.
Estás escuchando el 89.1 FM Calistoga, Santa Rosa, la voz de tu comunidad.
Comunícate con nosotros, danos tu opinión. Teléfono en cabina 707-545-0318.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussion, and interviews. I'm your host, Kai Kramer. I'm with my co-host, Mandy Howard.
Peanut butter sandwich.
You know what? I somehow I think it's closer. I think, you know,
we're trying to come up because she says, as always, with me is my co-host Mandy, and I don't know what to say.
So
that's not my tagline. That didn't work.
If you are just tuning in right now, we are interviewing Kevin Jones of the Human Rights Commission on forming the LGBTQIA LGBTQ Task Force in Sonoma County to gain a little bit of knowledge about the queer community and perhaps make some lasting change that will actually help people. Kevin, thank you again for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So we were just talking about the massive efforts that it's going to take and all the different people involved in order to gather all the data from all the queer identified individuals and how monumental of a task this is going to be. I had a chance to look over an advanced copy of the survey, and the one thing I noticed is that it covers quite a bit.
Sure.
As you were saying, it covers gender identity, sexual orientation, financial situation, which I thought was very important that you put that in there. The question that comes to my mind when we collect this data, when you get all the data, like say it's a successful collection, which is always a challenge when it comes to statistics. But when you get all the data and you've crunched it and you see what's the situation, and you see, okay, well, gay identified men need this, gay women need this, trans men exist and need this, trans and so on and so forth. Who do you help first?
Yeah. I don't know that we're going to make that decision necessarily. What we're basically trying to do is to say, okay, our goal at the end of this is to say, this is what we've discovered, and it suggests to us a number of recommendations that we would put forth to the full commission and then ultimately to the Board of Supervisors to say, there is work to do here. There may be some very specific suggestions on how to address that, or it may be to say we need to spend more time as a county, with resources to focus on the LGBTQI community here based on what we're seeing. So part of the genesis of this was something that happened earlier this year in San Mateo County. San Mateo County Board of Supervisors created an LGBTQ commission in the county, a permanent body who, as I said earlier, would have responsibility for continuing to remind people to keep at front of mind that LGBTQ lens when looking at public policy in all kinds of areas. So it may be a recommendation to do something like that. It may be to say, we've gotten some great information here, but we need more. And so on a regular basis, there should be budget to collect data over a period of time in a more scientific way than a more statistically significant way than the questionnaire we're trying to figure out in terms of trends. That LGBTQI data needs to be part of the data of the integrated into the everyday data that the county collects in order to determine public policy, or it could be something very specific that there is a huge need with for education and training and resources for the immigrant and non-documented community who are LGBTQI. It's hard to know that upfront what we're going to see in terms of trends, but we want to be able to say, here are where we think the issues are based on this, and these are our recommendations for what to do going forward. But it's, like anything, I don't think it's going to be a magic bullet. It's like, oh, flip this switch and we're good.
Right.
Or throw money at this particular part of the community and it'll be fine. But I think it's going to be a series of recommendations that get us on the path toward being very visible as a community in public policy and in allocation of resources.
This is.
I was going to say one of the issues that I came up against when I first came out here in Sonoma County, and Sonoma County is the area that I came out in. I wasn't out before I came here. One of the issues that I had was finding resources. Just, they were out there, but how do you find them? I mean, a lot of them aren't even online yet or whatever. And I looked at the county websites and the community center programs, perhaps, because the town I grew up in down south, if you didn't know where to look, you went to the community centers and stuff like that, see what kind of programs they have. And the information is just not readily available, or it's not clear and concise. So, I don't know if this is something that's already being considered, the idea of just making the information more accessible to the not just the trans community, but the LGBT community in general.
Yeah, but some of the questions we're looking at, in fact, ask people to comment on, whether they agree with the statement, like, do you know what resources exist for this?
Right.
Because I think, one of the issues are that, it's not real clear. There isn't necessarily a central clearinghouse for people to say, where do I go? Is there a place to go? How do I access it? I mean, I don't know all that many resources in the county, and I think some of them certainly do exist, but many don't. And there isn't that community center, either physical or virtual, where it's kind of the clearinghouse for all things for members of our community to access when they have those kinds of questions.
Well, one of the issues I think is that a lot of the groups that start off kind of on their own, kind of nonprofit groups or even just groups of meetups with people, is that when they become big enough to be helpful to a wider audience of individuals, they don't often connect to the county or the city that they live in. In other words, the county and the city has no idea they exist.
Right.
And, the idea for me would be to get out to these groups and say, hey, we'd love to feature a little information about you on their webpage, on the county webpage, the city webpage. Just that way people can go to the county and they know, oh, the county has done all the legwork for me. They've done all the homework. and they know what exists. And, and part of that is getting out and finding that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a question. There's the Community Foundation in Sonoma County has started an LGBTQI giving circle that has about 70 people or so, people of means generally throughout the county who identify as LGBTQI, who are spending time trying to find out what the needs are, what are the gaps within the county. So we're kind of working in tandem because they're looking to do some grants starting next year.
Oh, wow.
To help make changes or provide resources to work that's going on in areas where they decide that there's a need. They had a conversation, sort of a community mapping, what are the issues, and there's lots of resonance around LGBTQI youth and LGBTQI seniors, because I think there are as progressive as the county is, and we have a lot of the right laws in place at state level, county level. I think there's still a sense of isolation for people depending on where they are, and part of it is not being able to find that community or find those resources. So yeah. I think your experience, Mandy, is dead on, and really highlights, one of the reasons why having the conversation in a very visible way is going to be important for us.
Well, it definitely seems like in collecting all this data that in the beginning of the conversation here, you said that there's so many disjointed portions of our community, and for us to even look at the queer community as just that, a singular queer community, is kind of bold, to say at the least. There's a lot, as we've stated previously on this show, that there's kind of a lot of infighting, inopportunity, inequality, and obviously the issues of one subgroup of the LGBT QQIA it does not necessarily affect another subgroup.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is why it's, we talk about community. I think you're right. We are a collection of lots of communities.
Yeah.
But the effort really is to make sure that regardless of which part of, which community, which who you are within those, letters, LGBTQI, QQIA, NA, however many, whoever you are, wherever you are, you have the ability, you are included in the life of this county and are able to function without fear, with respect, and with full access. And so that's we talk about community, and community's probably not, it's a very loose word for who we are, because we are so diverse and so all over the place. But we need to make sure that everyone within that large umbrella, it has that voice, is we're able to move towards, whoever you are on the basis of your sexual orientation, your gender identity, your gender expression, it's fine, and you can be safe, and that's not a barrier to your being fully authentic and fully successful.
Now, you had worked with you were saying earlier you had worked with HRC.
I worked with I was on the business council for HRC for a number of years.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the HRC does basically, one of the things that they do is they kind of rate companies and businesses on their inclusiveness and their policies.
They do, and municipalities.
And municipalities. Do you know anything about Sonoma County's rating on that? The
Municipal Quality Index, which is MEI, I think, has come out recently, and I think they've scored Guerneville and Santa Rosa, not the county per se, although the county, like state laws and county laws, have an impact on that. And it was, I want to say Santa Rosa was maybe 81% or so on the latest one. Guerneville may have been slightly below that. And there are a couple things going on there, I think. One is that we need to sort of pay more attention to it and say, okay, are there actually gaps that prevent us from being 100%?
Yeah.
Or is the information that's being provided or being researched not completely accurate? I remember looking at it at one point, and it said that the city didn't have a human rights commission. Well, yeah, it does at the county level, and that should count. And so, one of the things that we'll be looking at that index specifically, and also the corporate equality index for guidelines as to the things that, from a policy perspective, we should be making sure are included.
Now, have you taken a look at all to see which municipalities or counties that are rated extremely high in the HRC's index? Have you taken a look at those areas and try to see what it is that they're doing different?
We are taking a look at those, and some of the not too surprising. San Francisco's.
Yeah. What are they at? Like 90 something?
They're 100.
100, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think there are a few cities within.
I think it
California,
should never go
100%.
above 99% because there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
Well, there certainly is, and I mean, one of the things the Corporate Equality Index has been a really important tool for getting corporations' attention, and what they've done over time is, they sort of haven't said 100% is sort of perfection. They've said 100% is here, and they've kind of raised the bar. So like within I think next year's survey, they're including information or requirements that companies that are operating, U.S. companies operating outside the U.S. should have policies that are consistent for their employees outside the U.S. as well as inside. So those kinds of, it's been a really important tool to say, okay, let's get them up to the next level, recognizing that, again, having the right policies in place is not the end of the game, because you have to get from policy to practice. So, for example, California passed AB 1266, right? So one of the things that I'm curious about, that I think people need to be asking is, great, so according to the law, students are able to participate in their schools as in the gender that they identify fully. Okay, well, has that been implemented? How successful has that been? Who's checking to see the schools within Sonoma County, for example, are implementing AB 1266 as intended? Are there obstacles? Do they need resources to help them do that? So it's great to have the law in the books, and you get a big check mark for that on an index. But the underlying question is, well, okay, is it actually being implemented, and who's holding the school districts accountable? Who's helping the education infrastructure in Sonoma County to make that intent realizable, so that all students are able to go to school and participate fully in the gender in which they identify.
That's a really good point. Who is checking on that? That's the question, right? Who is checking to make sure that these great new laws that are effectively giving us more and more rights, which have not been passed in other states. This is we're progressive California here.
Well, they just passed the Respect After Death here in California. Yeah, that was a new one as well. What I was going to say in reference to the index is that, as an example that I know of that that shows that it was successful, or is successful in doing what it's meant to do, is the company Target. Everyone shops at Target. Target used to be rated extremely low. I mean, to the point of just being homophobic, transphobic, and all that good stuff. And today they're rated extremely, extremely high. I mean, they've completely turned around the entire company to get a higher score on their index, because that increases profit at the end of the day. So, I mean, that index is very powerful.
Yeah, no, there are lots of reasons for that, but companies pay attention when they're trying to be successful, both in terms of appealing to consumers and also to be able to attract the best and the brightest talent. Because the best and the brightest, the creative class, if you want to quote Dr. Richard Florida, are looking for experiences that are inclusive, whether they're LGBTQI or whether they're allies. They use that often as a flag to say, yeah, this is a place where I want to be. This is a place where I want to work, and it applies to locations as well as to companies.
Yeah.
So
you want to attract more LGBT individuals to the Sonoma area, basically.
Well,
and
visitors, residents.
Visitors, residents. Yeah. Well, we have wine country, right? So
yeah,
that's a big draw.
No, absolutely. It's a draw for a lot of people. This is a great place to be, a great part of the world. It's understandable why people would want to come here, and we want to make sure that if they are LGBTQI, that they're welcome. And the economic development aspect is one of the objectives that we'll be looking at in terms of recommendations for the task force as well. But also, we want to make sure that the people who are living here are able to, live in this paradise completely free and authentic as they need to be, without any fears that put a little dullness in the paradise in which we live, because it's a great place.
Yeah.
One of the things that you talk about, corporations, and I sit on the advisory board for a Workplace Equality Index, which is an index that looks at the performance of companies for investing, and it's a Denver Investments Index. And we were just had a meeting last week in Denver looking at the performance of companies who have inclusive policies in their stock price, and the participants in that index have been outperforming the S&P 500, again suggesting that they're the progressive companies. They're able to attract talent, benefit from diversity within their employees. It's
well, I would say not only does being inclusive of the LGBT community help in attracting talent and business from people in that community, but also from people outside the community who are very supportive and want to shop at places that are supportive.
Absolutely.
Or live in cities that are supportive, or visit cities that are supportive. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember one time Judy Shepard was giving a talk that I was attending, Matthew Shepard's mother, and she was, you talk about what is the percentage of the people who are part of the LGBT community, and she would say, you hear it's like 6% or 3 to 7% or whatever, and she said, if you could just imagine that everyone in the LGBT community had a blue dot on their head, right? And that anyone who, their brothers, their sisters, their parents, their children, their friends, all the people that supported them had a blue dot on your head, then you wouldn't be looking at, 3 to 6%, you'd be looking at 40% or 70%.
Yeah.
And so when you think about the LGBT community and add that allies perspective in, the people whose lives are tied to who we are as a community, that number's significant. And that's what businesses will pay attention to. That's what public policy planners need to be paying attention to. And I would say that, in Sonoma County, that percentage is probably pretty high of people with blue dots on their head.
Are you suggesting documentation?
Well, what I was going to say is on a smaller scale, just the people that Kaya and I interact with on a daily basis, like the people at Ciao Bella and whatnot, like even people we come in contact with after they get to know us, they become not only allies, but they become advocates. Not they're not holding up signs or going to do speeches, but they correct people when they hear inappropriate language or behavior. I mean, right. And that's how, and on a larger scale, that's how it behaves as well. But yeah, I definitely see that type of behavior all the time. And just like a few days ago, one of the ladies, Kaya had ordered some food from a restaurant next door. Right? You want me to tell her?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
She'd ordered some food for me because I was getting my hair done. And one of the other ladies who was my hairstylist went up and picked up. And she said, we have another order. And the lady said, his order's right here. And she got mad and corrected her. And when she came over, she's extremely upset. And I feel like that made us feel so amazing. Yeah, it's accepted. She was gendered, but at the same time, the amount of passion that she had for that, for standing up for that, just amazing. And all we do is we're just nice people who don't want to do much.
Just the changing hearts and minds happens when you have personal interactions, and the ability to do that is key, because when you're out there and you're visible and you're having those conversations, then all of a sudden you're a person, you're a face to the concept, and that's what makes a difference.
Absolutely. Hey, we're about to run up to the end of the hour here. Do you want to say anything here to our listeners about the task force, about the survey that's coming out? Just to keep, just kind of wrap people up on this.
I would just say, keep an eye out. As soon as we get the approvals, we're gonna be, hitting as many channels as possible to get people to participate in the survey, because the more people that participate and the more diverse views we have in the data, the better place will be to make recommendations that make sense for us going forward. So you can look at the Commission on Human Rights Facebook page. It's probably a great place to start. We'll be hitting that, probably making our own Facebook page. We'll be trying to hit as many places as possible through as many different avenues as we can. But as we're heading into January, just keep an eye and look out for us. I'll certainly let you guys know, so you can let your listeners know in a future episode that, hey, it's happening, and what the link is to get the survey.
Very cool.
Absolutely will. If you are just tuning in right now, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT News, Modern Perspectives, Roundtable Discussion, and Interviews. I'm your host, Kaya Kramer. I'm with my co-host, Mandy Howard.
I got nothing.
All right, Mandy. You've been listening to our interview with Kevin Jones from the Human Rights Commission of Sonoma County, working on the LGBTQI Task Force, collecting data, pointing out what is basically going on within the queer community. And yes, there is a queer community, and presenting it towards the county so that we can move towards creating some awareness and making perhaps some future change. All right, everybody, we're gonna go to a little musical break. We're gonna play some words from our sponsors. You are listening to KBBF 89.1, the Queer Life Radio Show.
Estás escuchando KBBF 89.1, Calistoga, Santa Rosa y gran parte del norte de California.
You're listening to KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga, Santa Rosa, the voice of your community.
What up, y'all? This is DJ Broken Record. Make sure to tune in to the Broken Record Radio Show here on KBBF 89.1 FM in the North Bay. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. to hear dance music from all over the world. News, current events, interviews, and exclusive tracks and mixes from producers and DJs from around the globe. Broken Record Radio Show, Monday nights at 9 on KBBF 89.1 FM.
Haga rendir más su dinero en el supermercado aprovechando los cupones de descuento que se ofrecen al comprar ciertos productos comestibles. Revise los cupones en su periódico local o los que los supermercados envían por correo. De centavo en centavo, el ahorro podría resultar en varios dólares. Pero asegúrese de comprar solo los productos alimenticios que usted necesita y fíjese que sean bajos en grasa y azúcar para cuidar de su salud. Mensaje de la Universidad de California.
KBBF 89.1 FM, conquistando tu corazón.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Queer Life radio show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussion, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer, and as always, I am joined with my co-host, Mandy Howard.
No peanuts.
No,
Anybody?
I'm pretty sure that the airlines don't give out peanuts anymore.
Yeah, they don't do peanuts.
Yeah.
I have to make sure to enunciate that word, peanuts.
Peanuts. So we just got done with our interview with Mr. Kevin Jones of the Human Rights Commission and the LGBTQI Task Force that is collecting data on all members of the queer community and finding out what areas of need there are, making change, seeing what the problems are, seeing what the issues are, and perhaps presenting them towards the county and making change.
I do have to admit that when you first told me about the LGBTQI whatever a task force, that I had something totally different in my head.
Yeah. No, I like at first I would think like the Justice League of queer people, you know, or maybe Marvel or like the Avengers, or like the queer Avengers,
or like a paramilitary organization with with uniforms, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like the what is it in the Tarantino movie with all the Jewish soldiers. And of course, if there's a movie about this, there's probably gonna be a cis actor playing the trans people.
Is it Berenjuden?
Berenjuden, das Berenjuden. If you are interested in hearing the interview, you can go to thequeerlife.org to watch this episode. This episode is streaming live right now on thequeerlife.org. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/thequeerliferadio. This is all on thequeerlife.org. We got all the little social media links right at the top right for you. This next hour is dedicated to bringing you information from the news. As I said, we are LGBT News, Modern Perspectives, Roundtable Discussion, Interviews. So we gave you some interviews, and we try to give you interviews pretty much all the time.
And of course, we've got some Whoppers coming.
Got some Whoppers,
like from Burger King. No.
Oh, no, I thought you meant like Whoppers, like the little malts balls that you get at the movie theater.
Those
and they get stuck in your teeth. You know?
Yeah, those are really nice.
Yeah.
No, but we've got some really amazing interviews coming up.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Let's Mandy, why don't you just announce it?
Well, we already announced last week that we're working on putting together the interview with Fallon Fox, which we've already done, but it has to be edited down probably for time and for breaks, and also for like little noises that we couldn't get rid of.
Right.
Like the little irritating like
yeah.
Like,
Okay, horrible. Well, technical issues abound, great interview, and all of a sudden every single technical issue known to man and trans happens.
No, every single technical issue known to trans.
Yes. Or to this trans rather.
Yeah. Well, of course it happens on one of your most important interviews.
Yeah, so that will be absolutely incredible.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, we've got another interview already recorded, already in the bag. It's an interview with Dr. Jennifer Slovis of the Kaiser Permanente Medical Group. That's Kaiser. And she's part of the Oakland Multi-Specialty Transitions Clinic. There is a transgender clinic in Oakland at Kaiser. Yes, one specifically for trans-identified people. And so she clarifies and gives actual medical information about the transition process, at least through Kaiser. Mind you, we are not endorsed by Kaiser. We are not supported by Kaiser. Kaiser's not giving me a bag full of money after I exit the show. No, just kidding. But Kaiser, if you want to, you may go to kbbf-fm.org and give us a donation. Or if anybody else out there enjoys this programming or any other programming on this radio station, go to kbbf-fm.org and hit the donate link. And even if it's just $1, it would be supremely appreciated.
And actually, what I was going to say is we even have another interview coming up that we can't really talk about yet because it's upcoming. Right?
Oh, this one's very, very special.
It's going to be amazing. Another amazing interview, and they just keep coming. It's crazy.
When will it end?
Well, I don't think it'll ever end. We'll be on for 20 years.
Okay, well, and to a lot of you out there who are wondering whether or not this show is permanent, we haven't gotten one of those calls in a while. But
no, we're good. They don't listen anymore.
Yeah, this is true.
They've stopped listening.
The Queer Life Radio Show, we've been going since August now, and you'll be here. I can't announce it just yet, but you will be hearing more from us soon enough.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I also definitely want to do a shout out to KBBF just for supporting the queer community, or at least supporting Mandy and I, by letting us get on here and play my crazy techno.
By supporting us, they are supporting the queer community, or at least a small portion of it, but in as a much larger whole, especially because they're allowing us to get out queer voices and queer concepts and ideas and interviews, and we're finding out all kinds of information. I mean, you and I are learning in here constantly, especially with all the people we get in here. I mean, it's crazy, like Bridge HIV and I mean, food banks and hair products and butt waxing.
Oh my gosh.
Which was my favorite episode. And Double Rainbows. I mean,
Double Rainbows all the way.
He was our first celebrity interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Bear is great.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But his name is Bear. He's not a bear.
He's not a bear. No, he's,
right. Not to be confused.
No, for all the queer listeners.
Yeah.
He's not a bear.
For those of you who don't know what a bear is, it's it doesn't roam around Berkeley. But
it's not what's on the California state flag.
Yeah.
No.
They tend to roam around San Francisco.
Yeah. Looking for snacks, I guess.
Okay, so literally a bear is a gay man who is more
kind of usually burly, not
lumberjacky.
I guess sometimes hairy, but not always hairy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can be a bear without being hairy.
Yeah, you won't be denied bear status if you're not.
The question is when are we going to be able to interview a bear? Somebody who identifies as a bear.
Wow.
I mean, that would be pretty cool, right? Get one in the studio and have him kind of give us the lowdown on what it's like to be a bear.
Oh my gosh. So this is the Queer Life shout out.
Shout out. We should start doing shout outs to the community and ask for some inside info.
Yeah,
so we would put it out there.
So we are looking for bears now. If you are a bear or you know a bear, go to thequeerlife.org/contact and fill out the form. Let us know about yourself. Tell your story.
I just want to say as a disclaimer that bear hunting in this state is illegal.
Oh, this is true.
Yeah.
We'll tell that to... this is going too far. As always.
Well, yeah. But no, seriously, it would be amazing to have anybody who represents any part of the queer community that we have yet to really have in the studio, which is quite a lot. I mean, we haven't had anyone who's asexual. Have we had any bisexual people who are here representing bisexuals?
Not necessarily representing. But having the identification of being bisexual.
Yeah, we've had it. We haven't had. I think we had one trans man who was in here. Didn't we? No, we had intersex. Man, but
we've had trans men in the room.
Yeah, we've had them in the room. We haven't done an interview with them. We've put them to work.
Yes. So
because we need a strong man to answer telephones.
Exactly.
There's pansexual. We haven't really talked about there. We haven't interviewed anyone who's gender queer. I don't remember. No,
we haven't.
Gender queer, gender fluid.
Right.
We haven't had a cross-dresser.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's so much that we haven't had yet that we need to kind of cover the gamut of not only sexual orientation but gender identity as well.
So pretty much we will never run out of or different subgroups to interview.
Yeah, because within those groups there's even more subgroups.
Right.
Yeah. And for my own curiosity, not that it has anything to do with the LGBT community, we need to get a brown.
My brain was totally going there.
See, you and I, that's why we're that's why we're doing a show together, is because we think exactly the same.
That's funny. My brain totally went there. Like, they aren't.
We gotta get a brownie.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
They're not exactly LGBTQIA,
but I would say that they are part of a growing community of individuals who are looked down upon and made fun of, even within the groups that we've hung out with. When I kind of yelled at everybody for making fun of brownies.
Do you wait? Yeah. Okay.
Right,
yes.
yeah.
I admit that I found myself laughing at bronies, and after you explained it to me, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm laughing at them in the same way that other people were laughing at me as a trans woman.
Exactly, and it's extremely unfair to those individuals and extremely hypocritical.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but we see that all the time with marginalized groups, is that they tend to find another group who's even more marginalized and kind of step down on top of them, and it happens over and over again, just one after another. So somebody always, it almost seems like somebody has to feel like you need to step on somebody to feel better about yourself.
Yeah. Well, No more.
but we should be representing everybody who might fall into that inclusiveness, the exclusiveness.
Right. And for anybody that doesn't know what a brony is,
you want to break it down?
Yeah, I feel like I need like a proper definition for what a brony is. Well, I mean, basically, a brony is typically a male,
a male between
between
the ages of like 15 to 35, typically.
Right.
I mean, they can be younger, they can be even older, or maybe even as high as 45. It doesn't matter the age actually, but the average range is about 15 to 35.
But typically male.
Typically male. Well, specifically male.
Right.
And what it is they are fans of a specific TV show, not just the franchise itself, but a specific TV show called My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. And basically that, they're extreme fans of the show, kind of like the Trekkies.
Right.
Or Trekkers, right? Star Trek fans, they dress up, they go to conventions, they write fan fiction.
Right.
Right. Fan fiction.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Of course.
They write fan fiction, including their favorite characters. They write songs. They create art. They do all this stuff. Yes, there are some seedy elements to it, but there are seedy elements to just about every fandom in the country. And these individuals are no different, right? The people who are bronies. Now, there are female, obviously, super fans of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. And some of them may refer to themselves as bronies as well. But the whole idea of a brony is the bro, right? The bro.
Right.
So female fans, super fans of the show, are sometimes called Pegasisters.
I love that. That's so great.
That's great, right? And just so we're clear, I am not really a brony, but I did, or a Pegasister, but I did grow up watching the original My Little Pony. I've only seen a few episodes of the new one.
Right.
But I did grow up watching the old one.
Was it Tales of Equestria or?
No, it was the original, just My Little Pony.
Oh, okay.
The original '80s cartoon.
Right.
I'm a youngster.
Right.
And this was when I was identifying as not identifying, but openly living as a young boy, right?
Right.
In my older days.
Yes.
Before I was liberated.
It raises the question about bronies,
Mm-hmm.
Particularly the men. This is not, a lot of people would crudely say, well, quote unquote, that is gay, because it's something that's typically geared towards little girls.
Well, that kind of statement, when made towards a brony, has two things hidden inside of it, two pejorative ideas hidden in one. Is when I see a brony and I say that's so gay. One, I'm saying that a guy who loves girly things is gay because gay men love girly things, which is not really true, right? Not always true. Sometimes it is. And the other part of that is that it's essentially also saying that just being gay is weird or bad, or it's using gay as a pejorative term itself. Like when we say something is kind of weird or horrible or that dude is really kind of douchey or something, then we can say that, that's okay, or he's okay, or whatever. But that's kind of taking the term and using it in a negative way, when I don't really think it should be.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have the right to do so.
Right.
Right. They have every right to do so, but I have the right to say I don't like it.
And also, it's not exactly gender expression.
No. Well, we could argue that bronies belong inside the LGBT, the T part, because they are expressing their love of something that's typically feminine. So we could consider that a form of gender expression if we really wanted to stretch the definition. I think we could.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because gender expression is all about how you express your gender one way or the other. You can wear, like one of the YouTube videos I saw, a guy who talked about wearing, salmon colored skinny jeans. That it doesn't necessarily decrease his masculinity, but it does increase his femininity. Like it does increase his feminine appearance, maybe. And maybe I think he considered himself a metrosexual, which we haven't had either on the show.
Oh, that's right.
See?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think if you include all those ideas, then bronies and pegasisters could be considered within the trans community in a small way. See, we're stretching, like.
Yeah, right.
But we can still do it. We're allowed to.
I think so.
How about, wouldn't it be great to see if we could get somebody who is a brony or pegasister who's also happens to be gay, lesbian, or trans? Actually, the lady who started BronyCon is a trans woman. Remember?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
from the
she is a trans
documentary.
woman.
Right.
We should try to get her. That'd be great.
That would be great.
Yeah, because the documentary is great.
Yeah, for those of you that
That's
don't
where
know,
I learned.
yeah,
That's why I learned most of what I know about bronies.
there is a documentary on Netflix which pretty much everybody and their mom has an account for about bronies. All you have to do is look for a brony, BRONY or BRONIES, and you can see some pretty heart-wrenching, very touching documentaries on bronies. And
there's a new one that just came out. I haven't watched it yet, but I don't know if you've seen it.
With the voice actor.
The voice actor.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Is it good?
Yeah, it's very good actually.
Yeah, I'll still have to check that one out. But yeah, you get to see through the documentary like that. You get to see that they're just people that they do good things. They do charity. You know, they share the love of the show with each other, and it forms friendships that last forever. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know, they're not hurting anybody. They're not taking advantage of anybody. They're just simply bonding with each other over a common interest, and that's really what it's all about. And you know, and that's what the queer community should be all about. It should be all about bonding together over common interests. You know, there are many differences within those commonalities, but as a whole, you know, we're a huge marginalized group of individuals with different feelings, different tastes, different ideas, different religious affiliations, different political affiliations, but we're all marginalized by the same, you know, by society, and we're all lumped together, whether we want to be or not. And we're much stronger together than we are, you know, apart. So
that we are. And that's what, you know, we were talking about in the previous interview with Kevin Jones, that we need, you know, we need to not be disjointed anymore, which is just that it's a part of what we're trying to do, you know, with this radio show. So let you know that we do have a voice, and let not only those of you who are cisgender, straight identified, but those of you who are queer identified and didn't know that there was a community or didn't think that we had a voice. Well, you've got a voice out there as well as many others. And as we've said in previous shows, that you are not alone. There are many people out there working and striving to make life a better place for people like us in this world, people from our own community, people from outside of our community. And so it, you know, going back to this brony thing, we just need to you know, to open up our hearts and just be a little bit more, you know, mindful and accepting, and not laugh if you see something that's different, or judge, you know, based upon a certain form of expression.
Well, a lot of people might say hold your judgment until you get to know somebody or know something, but I would even say hold your judgment regardless, even after you get to know something or somebody, unless it's something that's hurting another individual or even hurting that individual. Then you might want to say, hey, you may want to stop this behavior or whatever. But even after you find out all about, like, let's say you find out everything there is to know about brownies, and you're still like, this is horrible, it's horrendous. You shouldn't even be really, there shouldn't even be a thing that you're thinking about, because it's not your responsibility to do so. It's not your right to do so. I mean, you have no right to tell anybody that what they're doing is incorrect or wrong, obviously, so long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
Or infringe on anybody else's rights.
Wasn't there a news segment where there was a reporter talking about a brony convention? Or no, that was a furry convention.
Oh yeah, I forget. I think, was it Fox News, or it was probably Fox News. You know, they were doing a report on a fire inside of a convention hall that all the individuals inside evacuated to the streets, and it just happened to be a furry convention. And I guess I don't know if she walked off the stage laughing or walked off the stage in disgust. But regardless, she walked off the stage. She couldn't report on it because she found it to be in some way ludicrous, ridiculous, or disgusting or whatever. And she didn't want to be a part of that. And that's kind of sad as a reporter. Her job is to report the news. It's not to judge what the news coming across your desk is and what it means to you. It's your job is to be impartial. You know, just like we invite people who disagree with us to call in, because we need to be impartial. We need to be able to have a discussion with somebody who disagrees. You know, if we can't do that, we shouldn't be on the radio.
Right. Okay. Well, you know, I think that was a good little, you know, talk into bronies here for a moment. And for a second there, again, furries are not the same as bronies. Two completely separate interests groups.
The what?
Furries and bronies.
Oh, furries and bronies. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they are completely separate, but they can. I'm going to guess kind of merge together in some areas.
Right.
Because there are bronies who would probably dress up as My Little Pony characters and could be considered, in fact, a furry.
Oh, that's true. Right.
Because they're animals. They have hair and all that. Yeah.
We really need somebody to school us out there. If you are a brony and
or a furry.
Yeah, or a furry. Go to thequeerlife.org/contact. Shoot us a private email. It does, you know, nobody else is going to look at it. It's just I'll just see the email, and you know, maybe we can get you on the show, or maybe you can just give us some information,
or maybe you have somebody else we that you want to suggest that we contact.
Right.
Like somebody that you know, or somebody that you know would love to talk to us,
because we are speaking about a community that we have no idea about other than what we have seen based upon, you know, movies and documentaries. And it's like, let's get it from the horse, you know, straight from the horse's mouth.
That's from the pony's mouth.
Yeah, from the pony's mouth. That's horrible. I'm sorry.
That's bad.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So if you're just tuning in right now, you were listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaya Kramer. I'm with my co-host, Mandy Howarts.
Anybody want a peanut?
That's
that's not working.
Yeah, that's not working. Yeah.
No peanut. No peanut. No peanut. No.
I'm never gonna get tired of Consuela. She's great.
Consuela's amazing.
Yeah. If at any point you have any questions for us during the show, you can feel free to give us a call 707-545-0318. That number again, 707-545-0318. You're listening to KBBF 89.1 FM. If you want to watch this show or any previous shows of The Queer Life, go to thequeerlife.org. Thanks so much. Continue listening. We're going to have more news and perspectives after the break. Thank you.
Escucha KBBF 89.1 FM, la voz de tu comunidad, porque es divertida.
Here's another way for you to support the music you love on Community Radio KBBF. And it serves as an end-of-year tax deduction too. You can donate your used car, motorcycle, RV, or boat to KBBF by calling 877-411-3662. You don't have to go through any extra hassles, such as getting a smog check or going to the DMV. For information about donating your used vehicle to KBBF, go to kbbf-fm.org.
Hi, this is Adam Rodriguez. Did you know that today 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic? That means many of the future doctors, engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids. We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone. Many support you, and the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education. Learn more at hsf.net. Brought to you by the Hispanic Scholarship Fund and the Ad Council.
Estás escuchando KBBF Radio Colectiva, gente de la calle, tejiendo voces para una voz, la voz de nuestra comunidad.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show on KBBF 89.1 LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussion, and interviews. I'm your host, Kaya Kramer, and my co-host, Mandy Howard, is laughing at me.
Good news, everyone.
Good news, everyone. Ooh. Did we get a new shipment of dogs to the planet Saturn?
No.
Even better.
Even better.
Oh my gosh, I love Futurama. Why did you have to get canceled?
They'll come back. They're actually talking about trying to do a full motion picture in theaters.
So they're gonna. So the Firefly thing is gonna happen.
Yes.
So they get canceled, and then they have a movie.
Yeah. Well, they've been canceled 3-4 times. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they keep coming back. I don't know if they're coming back this time, but we could maybe a movie would be great.
Awesome. Yes.
Okay. So.
Yes. All right, so we're going to continue by talking about some news that is going on in the world. We have been criticizing ourselves for being a little trans-centric, so we're going to try to bring up some other stuff about the LGBTQIA, particularly the gay community, which is yeah. So there we go.
Well, let's just make the disclaimer, or at least for me, I think the idea that we're trans-centric is not a bad thing.
No,
because there are so many other gay and lesbian voices out there. There's so many other gay and lesbian radio shows out there and television shows. There's very little at all for the trans community. So we need to be a stronger voice for that part of the acronym, but we also obviously need to represent as many people as possible and try to get as many voices on the show as possible. So,
and again, we are not gay men.
No, or gay fish.
Or gay fish. We might be the voices of a generation.
But we are breaded.
Yeah. Delicious. Oh my gosh, Kanye, I love you. But, and again, if at any point you have any questions for us, feel free to give us a call at 707-545-0318. Okay, Mandy, what's what's the sitch? Kim Possible.
Well, basically, what we're going to talk about is one of the articles on the HuffPost. It says Saudi Arabia beheads gays, but Marco Rubio has no problem with you traveling there. And essentially, it's a story about not just Marco Rubio, but politicians in general, and even President Obama. The hypocrisy of dealing with certain countries that have homosexual policies in place, such as Saudi Arabia, which is punishable with imprisonment or even death, right? So, and places like Jamaica, you can be arrested for being gay, and these are places where the government wants you to travel because they want you to spend money there, and they have relationships with these countries. And yet they have other countries where they don't want you to travel because, Cuba or whatever, because they don't like those countries, but it has very little to do with their actual policies. It has more to do with business relationships.
Right.
So the whole idea is that we have Saudi Arabia, for instance, we have extremely close ties politically and militarily with them. I mean, they're one of our biggest allies in that region. And yet we, support what they do. And we stay silent when they jail women, for instance, for driving, or
getting an education,
or execute somebody for being gay, or hang them, and they do horrible things.
Or remove their genitals.
Well, that's Iran.
Oh, excuse me.
Well, that's true too. I mean, we talked about that before, where in Iran, if you were gay, you have a few options. You can flee the country, right, which is not a legal option. I mean, you could be arrested for trying to flee, which is interesting because if you wanted to leave the United States, you could probably go, but you can't just leave Iran. You gotta get permission or whatever.
Right.
So you can try to flee the country and get out before you're arrested for being gay. The other option is life imprisonment with possibility of being put to death. And of course, the one we talked about previously on the show is that gay men are being forced to have gender reassignment surgery. In other words, a gay man is being forced, for instance, to have his bits turned into female bits and become a woman, live as a woman in that country, and get married to at that point her husband, because that's why the government views is now this gay man is now a she, because they gave him reassignment surgery. So I mean, the list goes on, and just the entire article is essentially about the fact that we as a country support other countries with money, with aid, with military resources, with trade deals that are extremely, not just slightly, but extremely anti-homosexual, anti-trans. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. So.
I mean, allegedly.
Ignorant.
So, I mean, this isn't really new news. Queer identified people being overlooked in terms of human rights issues, in terms of people losing their lives in many cases. Just because there's other greater benefits. Obviously, it shouldn't be the main issue, but it at least should be looked at. And it's just incredibly to me that this that this is still happening. I mean, we're in Sonoma County here, and most people around here can say, "Hey, I have a friend who's gay," or "I've got a family member who's gay."
Mm-hmm.
But let's move on to the next article here.
Okay.
Yeah. This one is from queerty.com. It's giant billboard reading, quote unquote, "Nobody is born gay" pops up in Richmond, Virginia. If you drive down Highway I-95 in Richmond, Virginia, you will pass a billboard that features two men, one dressed in a suit and the other in a white t-shirt, and reads, quote, "Identical twins, one gay, one not. We believe twin research studies show nobody is born gay," end quote. The group behind the sign is Parents and Friends of Ex-Gays and Gays, PFOX, a nonprofit organization that works to, quote, educate, support, and advocate for individuals and parents on the issue of same-sex attraction, and to increase others' understanding and acceptance of the, quote, ex-gay community. On its website, the group cites 2 studies that deny the existence of a gay gene, one of which was conducted in 2000 with participants who are twins and is now heavily disputed, even by the study's main researcher. Spokesperson for Lamar Advertising Company, which owns the billboard, told LGBTQ Nation that P. Fox's stance is not a reflection of our company's views. It's in the best interest of our company and the communities we're served to accept advertising copy openly, said Ali McAlpin, communications director for Lamar. We do not accept or reject copy based upon agreement or disagreement with the views presented. So what we have here is open advertising saying nobody is born gay, which in many ways suggests that being gay is a choice, that you can decide at one point for some reason or another to be, okay, well, I want to be gay.
Yeah, I mean the whole comparison to the trans twins thing is kind of ridiculous, because it presupposes or assumes that that twin individuals think the same, feel the same.
Right.
You know, just because they're twins does not mean they think the same, feel the same. I mean, twins always describe a connection that they have, but that has nothing to do with their political affiliations. I mean, twins are not, if you have one twin who's a Democrat, you can have one who's a Republican. I mean, it can go either way. They don't think exactly the same. So there's no evidence to support that kind of idea that just because one twin is straight and the other is gay, then one of them's got to be lying. You know, that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it just doesn't hold water.
And I mean, who would choose to be part of a segregated minority group
Exactly.
that's often denied certain
because race relations right now in this country are super hot topic,
right,
with the shootings and all that has been going on in Ferguson and whatnot. I mean, how many if we walked around and asked if you could do it, how many white people would want to be African American right now in today's world, in this country right now, considering all that's going on? I mean, probably not.
Right.
And with the same idea, how many people would want to be gay and go travel to Jamaica and get arrested? You know, how many people would want to be gay in Iran and have the possibility of being put to death for that?
Right.
I mean, that's not a choice you would make lightly if it was a choice, right? Which it's not. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, the idea of being gay, being lesbian, being trans, being bi, being asexual. Any of that is a choice. It's just totally insane. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but
yeah, again, we have freedom of speech in this country, and these billboards are legal.
Yes,
right?
they are. They're totally legal.
Yeah.
And you know what? I support their right to put those up. And if somebody tried to take away that right, I would actually be in support of their right to be able to put that up.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I've said that phrase a lot myself, but it's just like, it kind of freaks me out to be fighting for somebody to do that right like that.
Well, in the long run, if you're not for any type of free speech, in other words, if we were to say, for instance, to the KKK that they can't walk around and talk about the things that they want to talk about, then we wouldn't really be for free speech.
Right.
Because then we're going, well, we're for free speech unless we don't like what you're saying. Now, where you do not have free speech is in the private sector. For instance, the Duck Dynasty guys.
Right.
When they kind of let loose with their homophobic, transphobic comments, and the corporation, I think it was A&E that runs their show, kind of pulled the show at first because they are a LGBT inclusive company and whatnot. People were on the news, especially Fox News, crying out free speech, rights and all this other stuff, saying they should have the right to do this. This is a violation of free speech, when actually it's not a violation of free speech because the government didn't do anything to them. It's every private company has the right to say we represent your show on our programming, and if you're giving out a message that is not in line with our company and the image that we want to put out there to the public, then we don't need to have you on our program. We don't need to have you on our show, on our channel.
Right.
Right. And they have the right to do that. That's not a violation of free speech, because free speech has nothing to do with private companies. It has everything to do with the government. And the government cannot infringe your right of free speech. The government cannot tell you that you cannot say these certain things. That's what free speech is. It has nothing to do with individual companies.
Well, this is
or organizations. I mean,
this is why we live in a country that balances power between what the government can do and dictate for us, and what we can make decisions for ourselves as group entities or individuals. Which is kind of what makes America really freaking rad.
Yeah.
America, woo!
all we have to do is we got to play the unedited version of the 6 greatest minutes in TV history.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's a lot we have to edit for this show, including myself.
Hey, yeah. Well, we have to, watch ourselves as well. So
yeah, at some point we need to have a secret show on online where it's unedited,
where we can just let loose. Right?
Yeah. Come around the campfire, kitties. So. All right. Well, we're gonna continue to fight for their right to post up bigoted signs.
Yeah, obviously we don't disagree. Well, I'm saying we don't agree with what the sign says, but we also want to see that they have the right to still put that out,
right?
If that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Just like the Westboro Baptist Church, right?
Yes.
God hates blah blah blah. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I don't think that word's appropriate for.
Yeah,
for this show.
it shouldn't be appropriate.
Yeah, but everyone knows who they are. They have every right to do that. But there are parameters, there are boundaries.
Right.
Right. You don't have the right to do just whatever you want.
I'd love to have them on the show.
That would be so amazing.
Yeah, that would be more exciting than
actually. I've seen interviews that they've given with other news outlets, and they. In general, they actually make extremely entertaining and amazing guests. They're really awesome. It would be rad, right?
Yeah,
freaking rad just to have them on here.
I love Kevin Smith's little thing where it's like you can only, drum up hate in so many different ways before you start to repeat yourself.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So. A lot of people in Sonoma County here are obviously just chilling. Okay, I was like, no, you're gay, I don't care. You're trans, I don't care. Whatever.
Oh, by the way, in more gay news,
okay,
Scotland is now the world's 17th country to usher in the right to marry for same-sex couples.
Oh wow,
Scotland. Yep. So now, if you live in Scotland, you can now get married if you're a same-sex couple.
I'm seeing a lot of images of like swans and kilts.
You want to see the picture?
I kind of do. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
They both have kilts on.
Yes, that is.
And remember, don't call them skirts, or otherwise they're going to chase you.
Yes. Wait, would that make them a skirt chaser?
No.
Sorry, this is bad.
I do actually have friends in Scotland, so and I loved when they had their kilts on. All the girls, we were just trying to figure out what was underneath. That's all.
Well, I think it's a penis for the most part.
Well, I know that's what's underneath. I want to see, I want to see what they got down there. Easy access,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's very amazing to hear that. It's happening again and again all over Europe, all over this country, state by state. It's becoming a real thing, a real possibility for people to be out there and live authentically,
right,
in the way that they want to live, and not be told that it's wrong, not be told that they're disgusting or perverted. That's an amazing thing to be able to do.
This is happening within our lifetime. We've seen gay marriage, sweep across this country, certainly across the world, or it's been sweeping across the world, and then it reached this country.
Well, let's also recognize that right now it's sweeping across the country, but only locally, like state by state. What really needs to happen is federal. Right, it needs to be legal throughout the U.S., regardless of what state you're in. That's the real goal. So
No, this definitely get some good stuff here. We have a couple minutes left here, but about 4 or 5 minutes before we gotta wrap things up. If you are just tuning in now, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. We interviewed Kevin Jones of the Human Rights Commission of Sonoma County, that is in Northern California. If you are a web viewer, and he and a team on the Human Rights Commission are putting together an LGBTQI task force, tasked with getting information from the community via surveys about what needs to be done. And yeah,
I do have a trans news announcement, since we didn't get really to anything super trans related.
Yeah, that's so whoa.
You want to hear it?
Yeah, go
okay.
ahead. Yeah.
It says here, in a landmark decision affecting the nation's transgender population in federal, state, and local governments, America's top lawman today announced federal prosecutors would now take the position in litigation that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 includes protections against discrimination based on gender identity.
Whoa.
In other words, it is now federally illegal to discriminate on basis of gender identity. And the only caveat to that is that it really only affects federal employees. So if you work for the federal government, but it's a huge step.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's a huge step. So it only affects federal
This
employees.
is all 50 states.
Yeah. So if you're a federal employee, no matter what state you're in or even what country you're in, because federal employees can work all over the world, you have the right to transition on the job, which I believe, to be honest, is a step towards legalizing openly trans individuals in the military.
That will be incredible.
Because now with this law, they're going to find it hard to find more excuses to deny that right to trans veterans. And a lot of us, myself included, are military veterans. So, I mean, that would be amazing to be able to see that.
Maybe in our lifetime.
Hopefully within the next year or so.
Sooner than later, please.
Yeah.
Sooner than later. Okay, I think we're going to be wrapping up the show here. Thank you all for listening. This the Queer Life Radio Show is a part of KBBF radio station 89.1 FM, the first bilingual radio station in the nation. We are serving you up LGBTQIA news from all over the world, bringing you interviews. And if you want to listen to this show online, go to thequeerlife.org. We have all the previous episodes on there. You can watch them. If you have the ability to watch YouTube, you can watch our show. So go on there, check it out, tweet us at The Queer Life, go to facebook.com/The Queer Life. And if you are enjoying all of this, just let us know, drop us a line. We always appreciate your feedback. Again, my name is Kai Kramer. I'm with my co-host Manny Howard, and we are just thrilled to share this knowledge and information with you.
I just want to say it was a great episode today.
I thought it was a great episode.
Amazing. We didn't laugh as much.
No, yeah, so we're chilling out a little, or very tired, maybe.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty tired.
I'm exhausted. Anyway, all right. Thanks y'all for listening. Have a wonderful and amazing, fine Friday evening. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Don't discriminate.
Definitely don't discriminate and drive.
Yeah, don't discriminate and drive. Yeah. Okay. All right. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Good night.